Hey YouTube, Parson Rick here. This is a video response to Wildcat Piper. It's talking about mentoring. Wanted our thoughts on it. First off, I'm smoking my unfinished 7LE. I've probably smoked it maybe 20 times or more. I have no idea. And it's turning out really nice. You know, it was originally that blonde wood color, but handling it and rubbing it and all that sort of stuff I like it. One of my favorite pipes. Smoking some Parsons blend from Country Squire. One of my favorite blends, and it's very pleasant. People around me appreciate it when I smoke it. So well, Peterson lighter tools. Picked it up in Ireland when we were there. Oh, talk about mentoring, and you know, I've thought a lot about this because I'm a mentor for a lot of people uh, throughout my life. Uh, in my professional career, I'm a supervising electrician. You may call them master electricians where you are. And as a result, I've trained several apprentices. So, you know, I mentor people who want a certain thing. They want a job, and a certain job, and they have to be trained to get that. And I've walked them through that process. As a minister, I've mentored people, you know, who want to know more about God, I guess. And of course, as a father, now just as an old guy. You know. But I've thought about this a lot, and I haven't had a real mentor since my father passed away in 1999. And I think ideally, a mentor should be somebody who we want to be like them. That every aspect of their life is something we want to emulate, and so we study that person, and we hang around with that person to learn those things. And I don't know that's really doable to have that level of you know, perfection, I guess, to where you're the whole deal. I remember a long time ago I met a guy who was just so much closer to God than I was in his knowledge and his adventures with God. And so I started really hanging around him and paying attention to how he got to that point. And the interesting thing was that was the only part of his life that appealed to me at all, was just that bond with God. And so, you know, I learned what he learned and developed as well I could that same bond. But there was other parts of his life that were just, I was way ahead of him, you know. and and when you try to be like somebody, uh, most people don't have it all together, you know. And over the years, I've learned that, geez, I'm wrong most of the time. Be very specific when you want me to tell you something or teach you something about what it is, because everything else might just be a mess. I learned from some very odd people. Uh, the guy who taught me to be an electrician, my original journeyman that I studied under when I was in the Air Force, nobody else wanted to work with him. So I got to work with him basically every day for 4 years. He was the best electrician they had, though. So what I learned from the best available to me. And I think I've always done that. I've always sought, mosquitoes are out. I've always sought the best available to me to teach me whatever it was. You know, my father taught me how to be a dad, I guess, and he gave me the building blocks for how to be a man. And I haven't swerved from those, really. My dad believed in honor, and your word is your bond. And when I was 16, I had a 1948 Merc 8. I didn't know it at the time, but there was only 4,800 of these made. It was a very valuable car. And when I got it, there was no engine in it. So I had to find a flathead 8 engine. You know, they're just everywhere. I had to find a flathead 8 engine, pay somebody to put it in there. And I'm 16. I don't have that big of an income. Got it all running, and a series of misadventures, and it was just cost me an arm and a leg. Well, I went camping in the middle of the winter. I was a Boy Scout, of course. And, I went camping in the middle of the winter, and we had a very bad freeze that night. And when I came home, I walked into the house, and you know, cold and tired and hungry, and my dad and one of his buddies were standing there. Dad said, "Yeah, you might want to go look at your car." Went outside, and I had this Mercury parked underneath a huge oak tree, and this oak tree went up and bifurcated the trunk. Well, water had seeped down into a crevice in the crotch of that tree, and then when it froze, it expanded, and half of that tree fell on the roof of my car. No real damage, just my rear window, which, you know, a rear window for a 1948 Merc, you can get those anywhere. And it had dented my roof. Well, I just laid down on the back seat and put my feet up on the top and popped the roof back out, no problem. But the blown window was grieving me, and I was broke. And I went back in the house, and I was ranting and raving a little bit. And I said, "Oh, man," because I'd just been dumping money into this thing. I said, "Man, I should just sell it." And the guy that was there, my dad's friend, he said, "What do you want for it?" I said, $50. He said, "Done." I said, "Oh, no, I'm just mad." My dad looked at me and he said, "You quoted the man a price." Turns out it's not even legal. If you're under 17 in the state of Oregon, you can't enter into an agreement. You can't enter into a contract. So I sold this guy the car for $50 because I quoted the man a price. And that's the way my dad was. It was just very honest and straightforward guy. And was very well loved and respected. You know, and when he passed away, I found him. I found him laying on the ground out by his shop, and he had died, had a massive heart attack, putting oil in his tractor. I know this because he was straight back on the ground with his hands like this, and the oil can was directly between his feet. He just went straight over backwards. And as I'm sitting there wondering what to do about this, you know, I was not done with my father yet. And I'm still not done with him. There's still things I'd love to have his input on. And my life has undergone many changes in the last 16, 17 years, whatever, 17 years. Yeah. Last May, 17 years, and I miss that mentor, the guy I respect, that I could go and ask questions of and trust the answers. And I have a lot of guys who fill parts of that role in my life, but never since he passed has anybody been the guy, the one I could trust and go to. I'm probably just rambling now. Yeah. But all us old guys like to teach. We like to pass on a little bit of our knowledge, a little bit of ourself, so that maybe we'll survive. I still quote my dad all the time. Can't raise yourself by lowering others. God only made a few perfect heads, and the rest he covered with hair. He's a great one for Proverbs, and yeah, still my mentor. I still remember the stuff he said, and I still use his standards and his methods as a criteria for my life, and I do miss him. I do miss having somebody to lean on sometimes. And, fortunately, I'm able to fill that role for some people in some areas, and that's a huge obligation, tremendous amount of responsibility. Seek it. So, I don't know if this made any sense at all, but there you are. God bless you. Parson Rick out.